All right, it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce somebody who sort of needs no introduction, but she does need an introduction because I think she's known so well that sometimes people don't really know everything about her, and that is the other co-founder of SOBCon, Liz Strauss. Now, when you've heard the phrase, speaks softly and carries a big stick, that could be said about Liz, but I think we twisted it up to say speaks softly and carries a lot of street cred. She is on virtually every list about influencers, social media, business that you can imagine. She was named one of the top 10 most influential people alive. So if that puts it into perspective at all. And she's just an incredible thought leader. She's an international business strategist. But what you may not know is that she has, I think it's like 4 decades of experience in education and instructional design. And so the content of SOBCon is really her baby. She really spends a lot of time making sure that the content that's produced and shared is something that's really going to impact your business. She is an amazing person, an amazing spirit, an amazing thought leader, and the only person I know who can quiet a room without even opening her mouth. So, Liz Strauss, come on down. You're the next contestant.
I just did it. Are you unbalanced? Last year, my dear friend and a speaker who's going to be speaking here next, Tim Sanders, was saying that one of the most important things to do before you speak is to balance yourself. It's harder to do when you have heels on. Finding your center of gravity. And balance is just like, if you're a writer, you know about balance. It's the dynamic tension between structure and expression. If you're an architect, you know about balance. It's form and function. If you're a designer, you know about balance. If you're a strategist, you know about balance, but you can't be inside the building and outside the building at the same time. And one of the reasons we all need balance is because balance helps us experience trust. If you're not balanced, there comes a fear that you might fall over. If you're in a building that doesn't have a good structure, but it's beautiful, it could fall down on you. You can't trust it. If you're only seeing the inside of the system and not the outside of the system, you can't trust what you're seeing. And if you can't trust, you will experience, you know what I'm going to say, Molly? Fear. And as we all know, fear is the mind killer. And what the mind yearns for most is not to know, but to believe. So let's go for some balance and move over to, are you shallow? When I taught first grade, I had 36 6-year-olds in 2 of my classrooms. Now, that's an experience in and of itself when you have 36 6-year-olds. Luckily, I know how to think like a 6-year-old, and many of you who know me know that's true. And so, on the first day of school, Nobody tells the teacher what to do. Nobody tells the kids what to do on the first day of school. I figured they ought to learn how to spell my name because it was the longest word they would ever know, Monterastelli. And then they might know half the alphabet at the same time. And I asked them to write it down. And a kid named Michael Nardella looked over at another kid's paper. And in school, we call that cheating. I called that a creative way to get to the right answer. Why can't you look at another kid's paper? Why do they teach us not to look at another kid's paper? And when a kid wanted to help someone else, we did that. Because we didn't call that cheating, we called that collaboration. And we got to know what those kinds of words meant because we lived them instead of just learning them as vocabulary. In 2008, this hit me really hard in the face because I was right across the street in the Hard Rock Hotel, well, actually in a meeting room above the Hard Rock Hotel, where a man from Microsoft, who was an evangelist, and it was about the time that all the big companies had come to the internet and picked up the tools and brought them back to their culture, as opposed to come to the culture and learn the tools, how to blog and how to be on Twitter. Because we wanted to be part of the culture, the big companies had come and picked up the tools and brought them back to their culture so they could market to the culture as opposed to be part of it. And it was proven by one sentence this man said. He said, customers want innovation. I would like to know how many people have ever been in a selling situation where a customer said, I would like innovation. How many times you've ever heard someone come home and say, I spent money on innovation. And that's what happens. That's shallow. Because anyone who is of a culture, who understands innovation, for example, would never have used that word in that sentence in that way. Because people who create culture go deep. And they care about the vocabulary. They don't say they're writing a blog when they're writing a blog post. You live it. You understand it. You're immersed in it. Unfortunately, a lot of the marketing culture of our country is very skin of the pudding shallow. So which are you going to be? Because truly creative people, as studied by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the man who wrote the book Creativity, 25 years, Creativity with a capital C, has proven that truly creative people, people like Jonas Salk, who invented the polio vaccine, or Steve Jobs, who invented something, whatever that was, that truly creative people are traditionalists first, because you have to understand the domain you're working in before you can innovate on it. You have to respect the structure of what makes music, what makes a building, what makes a good lesson plan before you can make an exciting, fun, expressive one. No jazz musician can really play jazz unless he understands how music works. So you have to go deep if you want to create. And today we built this lesson plan on creating opportunity. Mission, vision, systems, conditions, position, network, systems, decisions. And we all know those words, But do you really? And when was the last time you thought about what they mean? And anyone who has a mission should probably be revisiting it over and over again. So let's talk a minute about one other question. Are you building a birthday cake or are you building a business? Because, you know, it's the difference between having a plan and having a strategy. Because a plan takes place in a closed system. You buy the ingredients, you mix them together. It's highly unlikely somebody's going to come along and throw some ketchup into your birthday cake. And even if they do, it's highly likely that you can control that. It's highly unlikely your stove is going to blow up, but you probably had control over that as well. That's a plan. A plan occurs within a closed system. A strategy allows for the fact that I'm not sure if you realize this, but your instincts suck. Because your instincts tell you the world is flat. When it's not. Your instincts tell you that the world doesn't change when the world is constantly changing. And if you build a plan on your instincts, don't think you have a strategy. Because a strategy is a method, a life skill, a way of making decisions and responding in ways that are fluent, flexible, original, and elaborative. So you have to go deep, and you have to understand where you're going. So we're here today to do something called Create Opportunity. And I want to tell you the story of a friend of a friend, my son's friend, Chris. Chris and I were talking. He was about 25 at the time, and he was about to go for a job interview in the morning. And he was all geared up for why he was good for the job, and this for the job, and that for the job, and that for the job. And eventually I said, you know, Chris, you need to take your eyes off the job and put them on the person you're talking to. Because the person represents a network. And you may not be right for the job, but you may be right for someone else that person knows. So there's the balance of the job and the person. But the links on your website will break. The buildings around us will be torn down. But the people you make relationships with, they're the opportunity. They're what are going to last and grow and change with you. They're the people you're going to build businesses with. So I want you to consider the huge opportunity in this room, the number of minds there are here, the ones that you already know that you're gonna talk to this weekend to expand the opportunity you have with them, and the new ones that you've never met before, that if you don't take a minute to talk to them, the opportunities that you're gonna miss. Because that's what we're doing here. We're gonna find our way to move our position. And every time we move our position, we have new opportunities, just like in chess. So we're about to start building the barn, and I welcome you to SOBCon 2012. Let's create some opportunities.